Welcome back to the Legal Broadcast Network. I'm Scott Drake with my guest, retired Superior Court Judge from Santa Clara, California, Eugene M. Hyman, who is also the host of the Family Law Channel here on the Legal Broadcast Network. California apparently may be banning employers from asking for Facebook passwords. That has become a fairly common practice among employers who are looking at job applicants, going to their social networking to see what kind of people they really are. Judge Hyman, welcome back.
Thank you.
So California may be one step closer to becoming one of the first states to ban companies from asking job seekers and workers for their usernames and passwords on their Facebook accounts. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on here?
Sure. I mean, the stated concern is one of privacy.
Right.
But the reality is, I think, when all is said and done, is it'll just make it a little bit more difficult for employers to do due diligence that they wish to do. And part of that due diligence is social media. Employers are sort of betwixt and between, in the sense that if an employee commits certain kinds of negligence, then the employer is potentially in a civil suit faced with a cause of action for negligent hiring, negligent retention. So that suggests that the employer should have done more due diligence and more vetting with respect to certain kinds of employees and certain kinds of settings and positions before hiring them, which suggests from the employer standpoint they want to look at certain kinds of things, for example, criminal records as well as social media. Criminal records are difficult to obtain unless you're a governmental entity. That said, a good personal investigator is going to be able to obtain that information by searching the many data banks that commercially that are out there. The same thing with respect to social media. The fact that an employer will not be allowed to ask for the passwords and usernames does not mean that they can't use other resources in terms of locating a person's Facebook page and doing that kind of investigation. So all it's going to do is just make it more difficult for them. It's not going to preclude it. And in my opinion, there's no way legally that they could prevent them from checking out social media, which is readily available. It's just certain kinds of things with respect to your Facebook page may not be available except to those in your friends group. But the thing is that most people that are participating in Facebook are extremely liberal with respect to what they share. And this is the potential downside to that.
And it's inherently populated by people who unknowingly are careless, with all their information and the way that they share things. Hence the word social media. Like this program, which is going to be shared on video and social media, we're completely careless about what you're talking about, and it can come back to bite you, Judge. But this is a really good lesson for everyone, because again, on Facebook they don't need your password really. I mean, they can just go and look at your page and kind of have an assessment of what kind of person you are, especially if your profile picture is of you with a beer in your hand.
Exactly. Exactly. But it isn't just Facebook. Facebook is getting all of the publicity for numerous reasons. One having to do with the fact that it's IPO this week. But it's also Twitter. It's all of the social media, of which there are many outlets out there. And you're correct. I mean, look, basically, what I tell law students is that there's no such thing as privacy if you're going to participate in social media. You have to assume that everything that you say or do, or YouTube, that's another one, that you're putting it on the front page of the local newspaper to the extent that people read local newspapers. And maybe people don't read local newspapers, but the thing is, if you're an employer and you want to check out a local newspaper, you can readily access it with many of the resources that are available for doing searches. So to that extent, there is no privacy, and you have to assume there's no privacy.
Let's talk about, maybe in closing here, just one other situation. Talk about how this relates to like a civil lawsuit. Is there anything that prevents, for example, a legal team from getting your password in Facebook for use in some kind of civil litigation?
Well, you have to be very careful about. I think it's one thing to use various search methods in terms of obtaining access to Facebook and things of that nature. It's another thing when you start trying to obtain someone's password. When you do that, I think you are crossing the line. I think you are liable for civil lawsuits, and depending upon how you obtain the passwords and what you do with them, you might be criminally liable as well. One of the other things that comes to mind given this conversation with respect to social media is setting up a false social media page using someone's name for the purposes of causing them embarrassment. It puts you in a position where you might be liable criminally for identity theft. So there are those potentials in terms of lawsuits and criminal prosecution for doing something falsely.
We're going to have to cut this short as Judge Hyman apparently is now circling the dark side of the moon in his spacecraft, so we're losing contact with him. But Judge Hyman, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.